Hey, I'm live. How's everybody doing? Good afternoon. Once again, I am building up my YouTube channel. I have a pretty good following on Facebook. I have almost 3,000 friends. I'm very proud of that. And I am on all the social media networks. Well, not all, but I'm on the big ones. I'm on Facebook and Instagram, which are really, the same company. I'm on Twitter. I'm on LinkedIn. I think I have the biggest audience on Facebook, but I'm trying to build this one up here on YouTube because I'm hearing great things about YouTube. I hear it's a wonderful thing, a wonderful way of marketing yourself. One thing about doing videos, I do videos on Facebook and I get decent views. I mean, I might get a little over 100 views, which to me, little guy like me, that's a lot. I know there's some really big. There are people that make a living on YouTube, a living that they can that just going on YouTube and having an opinion about something is how they get paid. Now, I am. Oh, that would be great, but that's not what I'm trying to do. I think the important thing is if you have an endeavor and you have a dream, like I do, is you really have to focus yourself and decide what it is that you really want to do and how to go about doing it. I think I want to be all things cool. I want to be a scientist and a astronaut and a fireman and a police officer and a soldier and a teacher and a professor. And I want to paint and I want to be a dancer. You can't do all this stuff. So you got to kind of decide what you want to do. And for me, it's writing books. It's writing novels, historical fiction, and marketing them. So everything I do is to that end. I have some people say, you should do a cooking show because I do a lot of videos where I cook. Yeah, that would be great, but I don't want to make that like another thing that I feel like I have to do. Nor do I. This channel, I think I'm going to do it on a regular basis because this is part of my overall idea is independent author, writing books and self-promoting and building a readership, building an audience. And I decided this channel here we would focus more on the marketing end, but also just take you along on the ride. And here's the thing, I'm not an expert. If you are an author yourself, I might very well be in the same boat as you, or I might even be behind you. But this is my journey, and I figured, well, I will share with you the things that I'm doing and what's working, what's not. So this is a lot of fun. So this idea came to me the other day. I had to get a new car. It's a new to me car. It's used, but I had to buy a new car because my old one was 17 years old and it finally just died. And when I got it, it had a plate on the dealer plate, which is Nashville Vehicles. I have mixed opinions about them, by the way, but I won't go into that. But I'm not going to drive around with their plate on my car. They're not paying me to advertise them. So I said, okay, I'm going to take that off and put something on there. And I thought, well, what do I want to put on there? And I thought, well, maybe I'll put like a English D on there because I'm from Detroit and I am actually a Detroit Tiger fan. And that's fine. But really that space, and I was like, I know, I should put something on there that has to do with my books, these right here. These are my novels that I've written. And by the way, if you're interested, the link to my author's page is in the description. And then the idea hit me. I said, what if, I write about the 2nd Michigan Cavalry. What if I had a battle flag, their regimental flag, as my license plate? And so I looked it up because I know you can do this. You can have custom t-shirts made. You can do anything you want. So I have an image of an actual regimental flag. It's preserved somewhere, and it was a beautiful image. It's worn. And so I found on YouTube. I'm sorry, not you. This is YouTube. I found on Amazon. There is a company that will make personalized plates. All you have to do is send them a picture. So I'm a little leery about this. It took a while. I think it was like $12 for the plate, but I had to pay like $6 for shipping. And I don't I saw a mock-up, but I don't know what it's going to look like so I'm a little worried that it's not going to look great. So we're going to do this live. You're going to see my reaction live. It might be beautiful. It might, I don't know, that was a waste of money. But the idea behind this is, I was like, I drive, and I'm going to talk about my trip to Bloomfield, Missouri here. One of the things that I'm doing as a guerrilla book marketer is just hitting the pavement, getting out there and pushing my book. I am very lucky because I happen to write in a genre. So I don't know how this works for other people, but I happen to write in a genre that there's plenty of events that I can go to. I write Civil War novels, and I live in Tennessee, which is, most people think about the Civil War in Virginia and on the East Coast, but Tennessee had Civil War combat in every single county. And so this is considered the Western theater. And then even further out west is called Trans-Mississippi. Like there was fighting all as far as New Mexico. A lot of people, if you ever saw The Good, Bad, the Ugly, that's about some of the battles in New Mexico. So like yesterday, I went to a thing called Liberty Days, and it had people from frontier days all the way up to World War II reenactors, and so I figured instead of just putting like a picture of my book, like nobody will get that. I figured this regimental flag would be really cool because when I go to events like that and people say, "What is that?" I can say, "Oh, well, it's the 2nd Michigan regimental flag." And I write books about them. Oh, really? And then I can start the conversation and sell books. So let's enough of me yapping. Let's open this up. Hopefully I don't damage it with my knife. This knife, by the way, I love this knife. It's really sharp. And I was driving back from somewhere on the East Coast back to Detroit, and I had to stay the night in a hotel. And this knife was laying under the bed. Like on the floor under the bed. It was closed. And I was like, wow, that's weird. But it's a great knife. I took it home. I mean, I've had it for probably 20 years now. I keep it in my kitchen, and I use it for stuff like this. I don't carry it on me because I don't know. I don't know how I feel about carrying knives around. When I was working in news, a lot of times you don't know that you're going to court until they tell you you're going to court. You can't have a knife on you, of course, and it's just, I don't know, I figured I would cause more problems than it helps. Anyway, I'm not that handy. Oh, I'm nervous. I am nervous. I want it to be good. I want it to. So if this works out, I'm gonna be really happy with these guys. Oh, wow. It's in a protective cardboard box here. Oh, it's metal. Is it metal? No. Yeah, I like it. So, and it's got kind of a worn look to it. And my, this is going to look great on my car. My car is gold. And the 2nd Michigan Cavalry, it's beautiful. It is metal. Oh, I love it. It's beautiful. Beautiful. My goodness. Oh, my heart. This is so awesome. I can't wait for people to say, what is that? Oh, 2nd Michigan. I'm going to sell books this way. I have I keep, now that the weather's cooler, I keep my books in the car. I don't do it during the summer because I don't know what the binding is, and I'm afraid it gets so freaking hot in Tennessee I'm afraid the glue and the binding would melt or something like that. But even with that, I keep a small, hey, Jack, how you doing? Well, I think you're my absolute first viewer ever. Yes, I think it is beautiful, and I'm going to take some pictures. If you follow me on Facebook and Instagram, I'm going to have some pictures of this on my car coming soon. Conversation. People say, what is that? It's the Michigan 2nd regimental flag. I sell books, and like what I was saying is, I usually keep what I call a little go box in my car. So I always have like 2 copies of each novels just in case. Oh, it's Lloyd. Hey, Lloyd. Awesome, man. Lloyd, I think you're my first live viewer ever on this channel. Ever. I think so. Anyway, so that's that. The other thing I want to talk about, this is really funny because it's almost like just a one-way phone conversation with Lloyd. I one viewer, television for one. So yesterday I went to Bloomfield, Missouri, and it was a 4-hour drive there. And I got to tell you, I debated on it. I really did. I got cold feet. I got nervous. I got scared. When sometimes something seems like a really great idea, and then I sign up for it, and then I go, I don't want to do that. And there was a lot of unknowns. And so this was at a veterans cemetery outside of town, and there's a museum there and all that. And what I was worried about is, like, I'm going to Perryville on the 8th because that's the anniversary of the Battle of Perryville. And that one is okay because if they run me out of the park, I can still go to downtown Perryville and set up and bus and sell my books. But so that one, it doesn't matter if I get thrown out. But I was really worried about this because are they gonna, because I had vendors, and I'm sure those vendors paid to be there. So, are they gonna say you're an unlicensed vendor? What are you doing here? We're gonna have to ask you to leave, and then what am I gonna do? So I thought, first of all, the goal right now is not so. Yes, the goal is to make money. I need to make money. I need to find a way to make money, keep myself afloat. But it's not the short term. I mean, the goal right now is not to make a lot of money. It's to build a readership. It's to get so that by the time I got my 8th, 9th book coming out, that there are people waiting that are doing the pre-sales, all that stuff, so that, what I'm saying, like, to build my name, to build up an audience. And so it's getting out there, it's getting in front of people, it's talking to them, and it's selling the book. Because every time I sell a physical copy, I mean, I'm happy to sell the digital copies too. I actually like reading on Kindle when my Kindle used to work. But the problem with Kindle is somebody buys your book and it sits on their Kindle. And yeah, there are ways they can lend it and things like that. And yes, I know what I would like is everybody to actually buy a book because then I make money. But the truth is, Neil Gaiman said this, and Lloyd, I think you're a fan of Neil Gaiman. And I've actually never really read him. I just heard him say great things about writing. He said, how does he say it? It's a very wordy sentence, but it sounds great with his British accent. He says, nobody, something about, okay, I'm not going to try to say it the way he said. I'm just going to paraphrase it myself. He said, don't worry about people reading your book for free. Like, people who read your book for free would not have bought it in the first place. Well, so don't worry about that. So people might buy your book and lend it to someone else. It's fine. A lot of my favorite authors, I discovered them off of someone else's bookshelf or at the library, and then ended up buying their books as they came out later on. Ben Kane's a great example of that. I love his work, and I found him in the library. And then I've paid for his books when they come out. Kevin Ashman's someone I really like too. I actually discovered him through Kindle. So anyway, enough of that. So what I'm saying is, when I drive 4 hours to sell 4 books, which is, do the math, it wasn't a lot of money. It wasn't so much that I made that money. It was also because now 4 hard copies of my book exist in these people's homes over there in Missouri, in eastern Missouri. So they may read it, they may lend it to a friend. That person may love it and want to buy the next one. And that's the one thing about series, is that it's kind of a two-edged sword. I will always have sold more Rampage books than I do Perils, because very few. I've had one person so far, possibly 2, that I know of, who got Perils first. And I'm really interested to see how that turns out for them. So anyway, my trip yesterday, I was going back and forth, but one thing, I got online and I made that little, I don't know if you saw it, but I made that little ad saying all the things that I'm doing in October, and all the places I'm going to be playing my fiddle and selling my books. And there's actually more. I've been invited to go out to do a guy's doing a period film out in Memphis, and they've invited me to come out and play some fiddle, and I think they're gonna give me a little bit part in it. But the night before, I thought, should I really do this? 4 hours there, 4 hours back. I might get kicked out and have no place to go once they kick me out. And then I got up that morning, and I told people I was going to do it, and proof of, what we call it, proof of performance. If you say you're going to do something, you do it. Because you lose trust with people, even though no one really cares. It doesn't affect anybody if I go or not. But it's right, Lloyd. It's all about planting seeds. And I got up really hungover. I probably should admit that to people. I like to only on weekend nights and maybe Wednesday, I like to have a little whiskey before I eat. Got up, shaved, because you put your best face on, and I look pretty grizzly with a beard, and I want to look approachable. And then I got in my car and I started driving, and I got to Kentucky, and I'm not kidding you. I thought I should just turn around now. I should just turn around now and go home. Like this. I'm being crazy doing this. And I said, no, I told people I was going to do it, and I'm going to do it. And I'm going to, we'll see what happens. So anyway, it was funny. All I had to eat was a banana and a thermos of coffee on the way there. And I was so dehydrated from drinking the night before that I didn't even have to pee the whole time until like maybe 3 hours into the journey. It turned out to be 4 hours because the bridge over the Ohio River was shut down to one lane. So I had to wait forever because they were letting a few cars through, and it was backed up pretty bad. So I was going to stop and get something to eat in Bloomfield because I knew the site was just a little bit out of town. But all of a sudden it was there. I was there. So apparently I was on the approach to town. I was like, well, shoot, I might as well just go. So I have no food in my stomach at all. I got out, found a place to park, and there was like a main area where like the museum is, and there was a barn over there, and there was a live band, and there was a lot of activity, but there was also people kind of encamped along this row where they had the cars, and then on the other side was the cemetery. And so I found a nice place to park, and I got my fiddle out, and I realized it's too much to try to carry my fiddle and all this stuff. So I'm just going to take my fiddle first and try to scout out a place, and hopefully I can to get with some people where I'm in the action, and I can kind of like see if I can, be a part of their display. So I went along the encampment and I talked to some people. They were doing frontier stuff. And this was it was called Liberty Days. They had people dressed up like frontiersmen. They had people, they had Civil War people. They had all the way through World War II. They even had and then they had some modern, real, I think, Army Reserve or Tennessee National Guardsmen there too with modern vehicles. It was a really cool festival. So I found these frontiers people, and they kind of pointed me in the right direction. And the woman was kind of curious about my book, so I said, "Hey, let me go. I'll bring them down. You can take a look at them." And she looked at everything. I don't think she was that interested. She didn't buy one. There was also a guy dressed up in a rebel uniform, and he liked to talk a lot. And I really enjoyed his company, but he wasn't interested in either. So I was like, I wonder if this is going to happen. So then I walked up and kind of walked around, and I found where the Civil War people were. And I found some people that were Union, and I just figured maybe they'd be, I'm sure it didn't matter. But I know that because my book said Michigan Second, that it seems like it's more of a Union perspective, even though it's really both, because my two big characters are on either side, and they, Kyle, who's fighting for the Confederacy, is has adventures, and we do battles from the Confederate side of view. So anyway, enough of that. It looked like it might rain, so I found there was a woman, and she had like kind of a canopy, not a can of peas, but a canopy. And I said, could I hang out here and play my fiddle and sell my books? And she said, yeah. And they said something about, what was her name? A woman named, I think it was Laura. They're like, oh, you should talk to Laura. She's the one in charge. I'm like, ooh, I'm kind of, I don't want any imperial entanglements, if you know what I mean. So I said, no, let's not do that, because I told him up front, I go, I'm afraid I'm going to get run off because I'm, not a licensed, a vendor here. I'm not an approved vendor. So I got my stuff out and I started playing, and people that's the one thing that, I don't know what works for me. I don't know how it works for other people, how you can take this and use it for yourself. But I play the fiddle. It works beautifully with the books, because I write about the Civil War. I know a bunch of Civil War tunes, and you just pull it out. I don't need a band. I play all by myself, and people come by and they want to listen, and they put money in my jar. I made $7 in tips. And that wasn't a whole lot. There are days where I made over $100 in tips. Nuts. Sometimes people just are throwing 20s in there. Sometimes, a couple ones. I don't care, because it's never really about the money. It's planting the seeds, as Lloyd says. It's building that readership. So, it was going fine. I talked to a few people, and finally this cute little old lady came by, and she was talking to me, and I was already kind of like, I probably won't sell any, but I felt like if I could just sell one book, if I could just sell one book, the whole trip, 8 hours in the car, was worth it. And as she's talking, she's getting her purse out, and I'm like, oh, she's buying one. And she bought one, and I immediately took a picture. And here's something. Here's a little tip. When you do this, when you get out there and you try to sell books, wherever you want to go, I love doing this. Like, I say, can I take a picture with you? And usually they'll say yeah, and they hold. So what it does is, this is an old classic advertising thing. It's kind of like testimonials. It's showing that, yes, real people like you are buying the book. Little old ladies, a kid, people of different races and genders and all that. You want to show them, it's next to you, and you're smiling because you're an approachable, likable person, and this customer is just like the person looking at the picture who's thinking, hey, I might want to read that book too. So I think, and it's also just, people like success. So you're showing people, yes, I am selling books here. Like people, strangers, my parents can only buy so many books, and they buy one a piece. My girlfriend, my friends, to show that people who are not just merely feeling sorry for me, but are actually reading the book. I think it's just great marketing. So that's one tip I can give you right there. So I won't go through all the individual sales, because every sale is like a victory to me. But I sold 4, including the woman who let me sit under her canopy. Very nice woman. But a couple other really interesting things are, here's one. So you might not be a fiddle player who can go sell books at Civil War things because you don't play the fiddle and you don't write about Civil War. One of the guys that bought my book was a trucker, and he's got a book. He wrote a book, and his book is on Barnes & Noble. And he said, and I don't think he's really pushing it, and I think that's a big mistake that people make, is that people think that you write a book and you publish it, and then you just sit back and you collect your huge royalty checks, and you look at all the different offers you're getting from Hollywood. It doesn't work that way. And let me tell you something else. And I knew this, but there's a great article I read the other day. Let's say you go the other route, and you're like, okay, I want to be legit. I don't want to self-publish. I want a publisher. I want a big publishing house. It's the same thing, man. And I know this from people who've gone this route. Here's what happens when you go that route. And it's like winning the lottery. Either way, your book may take off or not. You might get a little head start, when you go with a big publisher, but here's what really happens. The average advance on a book is about $5,000. If you're a first-time author, you're lucky if you'll get $10,000. Now that's an advance. That's an advance. That's not meaning that you don't start making royalties until there is enough to pay for that advance. Now I don't think they make you give the money back if it doesn't sell, but you don't even start. The other thing is, when you are an independent author, you make like 70 or 80% of your royalties. When you are going through, when you're going through a big publisher, you get like 10%, and your agent takes a cut of that, right? The second thing is that unless you are a known commodity, like Stephen King or J.K. Rowling's, they're not going to spend a penny on you as far as marketing. And the reason why, and you say, well, why would they do that? They give you 10,000 because it's a gamble. It's like playing roulette. If you ever play roulette, you put your money on different numbers and you see if one of them wins. That's what this is. And so a publishing house may roll the dice on a couple of first-time unknown authors, and let's see if something catches. But they're not going to spend much more than the print cost, distribution costs, and that advancement they gave you. It's up to you. You still have to do the marketing. You still have to do it. And what's worse is that if you fail to do it and your book doesn't sell, they drop you. And guess what? They own the rights to your book. And here's the thing. I saw a story. A woman wrote an article about this. She had to go to her. She got an advance. They published her book. She thought she was made. Book didn't sell, and it's not because it's a bad book. It's just you got to hustle, and you got to be the right place. There are some terrible books that do well, and there are some great books that nobody will ever read. And you're the difference. And listen to my twist tie. It's telling you the truth. You're the difference. You got to get out there and make your own luck happen. So what happened to her is her book didn't sell, and I don't know how much she worked on it to try, but so she had to. They stopped printing it. So like not only did it didn't sell, but it's done. They're not making any more. And so she went to the publisher and said, "Can I have the rights to my book back?" And thankfully they said yes. And I think what she ended up doing is then going independent, and it was much more successful that way. But they could easily say no. And I'll tell you why they would say no. I'll tell you exactly why. Let's say you write a book. You write a great book, man. And let's say young adult fantasy, I think, is one of the big sellers everybody wants to get. You write a great young adult fantasy. And this is going to be the next Harry Potter, Twilight, you name it. This J.R. Tolkien, man. And they give you $10,000 advance, and they print up 20,000 copies of it, and they distribute it to bookstores across the United States, and flops, and they lose money on it. And you're like, well, dang, I still want to, I want to write the sequels, and I still want to try to get this book out there and make it available to people. Well, they might say, no. And the reason why is because we paid you money. We gave you advance money that you ended up not earning. And we put an enormous amount of money behind this book, printing it, tens of thousands of dollars maybe of printing it and distributing it. We're not going to let you have it back so you can go somewhere else and print newer copies of it and compete against the stock that we can't sell. I can see that happening. It makes sense. Why would they do that? Now, they might be nice and say, yeah, your book sucks, so we don't worry about it. So all I'm saying is I don't want to discourage people from going the main route, but I think in today's age, if you got to do the marketing yourself anyway, then you might as well be your own publishing company. Basically, you might as well retain the rights, retain the control over the the intellectual property and make more of the and make more of the what do you call it, the royalties. The difference is that a publishing house might give you, several $1,000s up front, but it's not a living. In fact, you won't make a living off of writing books until you got like 10 out there at least, sometimes more. There's a whole group on Facebook called 20 books to 50K. 20 to 50K meaning once you get 20 books out there, you might be able to bring in 50K a year. I mean, think about that. Unless you win the lottery. It's like being a musician, right? I live in Nashville. I'm telling you, there is more talent in this town than in most states anywhere. I play next to people who have toured with country western legends who live a very modest middle class existence, and those are the lucky ones. There are people who are amazing guitar players who, if they're lucky, they'll make some tip jar. But every once in a while, some hack it just is the right face, the right place, the right time, and they're making, like Garth Brooks. No offense if you love him, no offense, and I'm not bashing him at all. But there are like 100,000 Garth Brooks walking around Nashville right now. What makes him special? What makes his voice different than someone else? It's a lottery. And so being a successful author is that way. You got to make your own luck, I guess, is what it comes down to. And so sometimes you got to drive 4 hours just at the chance of selling 4 books and making $7 in tips. But here's some of the other good things that happen. I finally met the woman, Laura, I think that was her name, who's in charge of the museum there, because everyone's like, you got to go talk to her because they might carry your book, and they have speakers here all the time. And I think doing book talks are great. I mean, of any event, that's what sells the most books, and I'm telling you, I'm talking like 6 or 8 books if I'm lucky. But so I went into the museum and we talked briefly. She was very busy, I understood, so I gave her my card, but she seemed very interested in it. So I might go back and do a book talk with them because I love doing it. I as you can see, I love talking to people. I can turn on a camera and talk for I've been going for a half hour now. So anyway, in the end, I sold 4 books, made $7 in tips. Exchange cards. Oh, the other thing that was really interesting is that there was a guy dressed up as Grant, and I said, can I take a picture with you? And he said, sure. And I go, would you mind holding my book? Because I know it's kind of like a tacit endorsement, and who knows, my book could be horrible. It could be full of just terrible things that would get you canceled on Twitter. But he's like, yeah, and he held up and it was interesting. He goes, Engdahl. Why does that name sound familiar to me? I said, it's because I'm hustling, man. I go maybe on I'm constantly on social media promoting myself. He goes, we're Facebook friends. He goes, I'm Dr. Rick Fields. He's a Grant impersonator, but he's a PhD. And I was like, oh wow, we talked for a while. And he goes, anything I can do to help you promote your book, just let me know. And I said, this is awesome, and I would like to tag you in the pictures because he's got 5,000 followers on Facebook. And that's another tip. You gotta listen to me like mumble and talk about a bunch of stuff to get out these tips. But here's another thing about social media marketing, right? Is attaching yourself to other people and tapping into their audience, right? So when I put up the picture of me and him, it's a bad picture of me, by the way. I always stick out my gut sometimes. And I don't know why I do this, and I puff myself up and it makes me look fat. And I'm not terribly skinny either, but I'm not as fat as I look in that picture. I can't wait till I can share screen. I have to get certain software to do that. So right now, all I can do is just sit and talk. But yeah, he's got 5,000 followers on Facebook alone. I don't even know what he does on Instagram. So I tag him. And so now here's this guy that everybody likes and knows, and he's kind of an authority. And here he is holding my book, and there's a link to my. You know, and that's why like I'm always promoting other writers. I actually created a separate group, and I'm showing you the ropes, right? Like I have a rule with my social media. It's going to sound really selfish and narcissistic. I don't share anything directly on my page unless it has something to do with me. Now that threshold is very narrow, because if I just happen to be in a picture with somebody, if there's some way I can make it relatable to me, I'll share it on that. And the reason why is because, you know, this is my tiny little window, my tiny little place, and I don't want to spam people to death with like everybody's stuff. And if I do it for one person, I got to do it for everybody. So everybody's band, everybody's book. But I do want to promote writers. And by the way, even if I don't share things, if you put something up about your writing and I like it and you're public, then my entire audience, which is like 2,900 people, is going to see that I liked your thing. So it's almost the same as sharing. It's just not on my page, so that when you go to my page, you're seeing stuff about CodyCEngdahl. You're not seeing memes about who I'm voting for president, or jokes, or you know, donate money to this kid because he's dying. It's just what I'm doing. If you want to know what's going on with me, you can come there. Otherwise, if you're just scrolling through and I like a writer's post, you're going to see it in your news. CodyCEngdahl likes a post. CodyCEngdahl commented on this post. So that's how I try to help get other people's stuff out, just by liking and commenting on it. And by the way, when you do that for me, that's what happens. So if I put a picture out and you like it, your friends now see it too, because I'm public. Everything I do is public. Most things I do is public. But I wanted to do more for writers, you know. So because I feel like J.T. Thompson has this great thing that says, all boats rise with the tide. So I created Engdahl House of Readers and Writers, and I invite everybody to join it. I don't push it on anybody, though. I don't invite anybody to like any of my stuff. I just feel like if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. It's going to happen organically. So any of my writer friends who have a book out, or you know, or even sometimes complete strangers, I'll just find stuff that looks interesting. I'll share it there. And here's what happens. That group is public. I'm public. So if you come out and say, hey, buy my book, here's the link, and here's a picture of me, and I share it to Engdahl House of Writers and Readers, even if you're not a member of it, you're going to see it because you're friends with me, and it says Cody shared a thing, and people see it. That's how it works. And so that's why you want to associate yourself with people with big audiences. Like I'm going to call him Grant, because when people are in character, I don't like to break their character at all. A person I really respect and I really enjoy a lot is Scuffle Moss. He's the tree troll. You might have seen some things, and great character. He reads. He's all about positivity. He's for kids. You know, there's nothing in there like your kids can watch Scuffle Moss. He's into metal. I've never actually, and I've been around Scuffle Moss several times. I've never actually met the person behind it. Even in correspondence, and we do business, like, because he's part of Ghost in the Grove. Even in correspondence, he stays in character, and I'll never ask him. I'll never. I figure one day I'll get to meet him. But and that's when he decides that he's gonna present himself as, oh, hey, guess what? Amazon, stay right here. Good. How are you? Thank you. You're welcome. Have a good day. All right, you too. Wow, I could not have planned that better. So my rule is, first of all, gamble on success. And I was really nervous of buying stock in the first place because I was like, God, I don't want to have a bunch of books that I can't sell, because it's an investment. I have to pay for these books and then try to sell them. And I said, no, don't be a coward. Gamble on success. So gamble. I just sold 4 yesterday. I have more things coming up in October, including a kind of like I'm actually getting a table at a kind of a farmer's market thing where I'm not even going to play. Oh, I'm going to bring my fiddle for fun, but I'm not performing. I'm literally have my own table where people can come buy my books. And so the rule I made with myself is that, don't overdo it either. Don't buy 1,000. You got 1,000 books you can't move. So I figured out with Amazon to make it most cost effective, because I have to pay for shipping of the books. You can't get free shipping when it comes to this. No matter what, no matter how much you spend, you still have to pay to have your book shipped to you. But they give you your books at cost. So I find that buying boxes of 20 makes the most sense. And then what I do for my accounting is I factor in the shipping costs I paid plus per unit to create a per unit cost. What I paid for the book and the shipping, I divide that by 20, and then that way I know how much I'm making in profit. And then I sell them for 12 because I think it's bad business for me to undercut Amazon. Although I just recently dropped the price on Amazon, but it's like one is $11.55 and the other one's like $11.43 because that's the cheapest price I can sell them on Amazon and still get some of the expanded distribution, which that's a whole other thing. We'll talk about that some other time. So I decided I got to come up with some kind of rules, ground rules here, because I don't want to be overstocked. But I've had things happen. I've never been truly caught in it, but like where like something pops up, like, hey, would you like to come to our event and sell your books? And I'm like, oh, God, I hardly have any books left, because I allowed myself to sell out. So here's my rule. I buy 20 at a time. And when I get under 10, I buy the next box. So I'll never have more than 30 in stock. And so that's, and so anyway, I just dipped under 10 with Rampage on the River. I just got a box full of Perryville, which I'm even more worried about that one because that one doesn't sell. Like I didn't sell any Perryville yesterday. Usually if I sell a Perryville, it's because they bought both books, and that's a huge leap. And that does happen. Somebody will say, you know what, I want both of them. But anyway, I have multiple events coming up, and I'm glad I got this because I sold 4 copies of Rampage, and I ended up sorry, my table's shaky, so the camera's gonna shake. But I ended up right now, before this box came, I had 4 copies left of Rampage. So, by the way, ladies and gents, this is my 8th box of Rampage on the River. 8. So I have now bought 160 copies of my book, and so far I have sold. Let's see if I have 4 left in the last box. I'm bad at math. I have sold 144 copies myself. 144 copies myself, and that's not counting what I've sold through Amazon. And I read this article. God, such a great article. I should send this to you, Lloyd, if you're still watching. It was really insightful. It made me happy because it made me realize I'm doing the right thing. I'm going the right path. It kind of just validated things I was already doing and some of the convictions I already had. But in it, the person said the average writer, okay, and we're talking about writers who are complete flops who never sell a book to Stephen King. The average writer sells 150 books in their lifetime, and that's all their books. That's not like a one title. That's like they write several books and they sell 150 altogether. That's the average of all writers. Okay, I have sold hard copies myself of Rampage on the River, I've sold 143 myself in the, I don't know how long it's been out now, a little over a year. It's not two. I can't do time. I started writing it in 2018 and I finished it 2019. Yeah, so like about a year and a half it's been out. I know I sold several hundred through Amazon, so I'm way ahead of the pack already, and I'm just getting started, man. I'm just getting started, and that's why everyone's a victory. They say your first 1,000 books are the hardest to sell. Now, I will say this. My book on slavery, I've sold over 1,000 of those, but I don't really count that because I realized in a lot of ways that slavery book was it's just a big advertisement for the novels. I mean, I'm giving people value for it. I mean, it's only $1 if you buy the digital. I think it's like if you want a hard copy, it's $4 or $5. First of all, let's just this Lloyd. I want you to have this day. I want you to have this moment someday when you get a box full of your books and you open it up and you see this beautiful cover and you feel the weight of it and you look at the picture of yourself in the back. It's a wonderful feeling. It never gets old. So, and I want that for you, man. I cannot wait for that day. Cannot wait for that day. I can't wait to do this. I'm going to bawl. I know you will. You are a big softie. So anyway, I'll tell you what the schedule is now. So I think, okay, if I say this out loud, it means I have to do it. I'm going to write an article about the Battle of Perryville tomorrow. That's my big goal tomorrow. And I'll probably publish it on Wednesday. And the reason why I'm doing it is because the 8th is the anniversary. And so I want a good article that I can plaster all over the Facebook groups for the Civil War, and of course it's going to have a link to my book, Perils of Perryville. Wednesday night, Laura and I have this ritual now, where we do like politics and we are political minded. We just don't. I just don't share that publicly, and the reason being is because I don't care who you vote for. I mean, I really don't. I mean, I hope the person that I want wins, but I don't hold it against anybody who votes for the other person. I'm just because I'm about selling books, man. I'm selling books. I'm not a pundit. You know what I'm saying? My sister is. My sister is very active, and if you don't know who my sister is, I probably shouldn't tell you. She's kind of famous, or maybe even infamous in Michigan, and I'm very proud of her. But I can't live that way. I'm a businessman, and I don't care who you vote for. I don't care color of skin. I don't care who you sleep with. I don't care who or what you pray to, if anything. I don't care what you got between your legs. And I don't care what you think you should have had between your legs. I don't care, man. I don't care. I will still love you. We can still be friends. What I really care about is, do you like my books? Are you interested in reading them? By the way, I got my friend Ann Royster. She texted me. She goes, "Well, you've been censored." I go, "Really?" She goes, "Yeah. I suggested your book to my book club, and they told me that it was too offensive and tone deaf." Offensive and tone deaf. Now, okay, first of all, I don't care. I mean, if you're the kind of person that uses that kind of language or that judgmental without even looking at something, you're never gonna like me. You're never gonna like me. You're never gonna like my book. I don't care. But come on, man. Like, how do you know it's offensive and tone deaf? I mean, I think it would make more sense if that person had said, "Well, it's a book about war. We don't want to, that violence. It's just not a good fit for the club." But to just dismiss it out of hand and say Rampage on the River. Actually, I think she pitched both my books. Rampage on the River and Perils of Perryville is offensive and tone deaf. No, I told her, I said, well, that was what I was going for. Is actually offensive and tone. So here's the, I actually want to put that in quotes, like on my book. And, like they put the critics thing, like an outstanding, adventure in writing, fresh new perspective. On mine is Rampage on the River, offensive and tone deaf. So anyway, all right. So I'm offensive and I'm tone deaf. That's okay. But like I said, I don't know how I got into that. I think I was talking about politics, but I would say I'm never gonna don't talk about politics. I don't care as long as you're a good person, and I don't think if I vote one way. I know a lot of people who vote the other way that I absolutely adore and love and know that they're good people. And I also know that there are a lot of people who are on my side who are terrible, rotten people. So like, I just want to write books about history. The one thing I will say, I think I do this, tightrope dance very well. After I finish Blood for Blood at Nashville, I'm probably going to leave the Civil War, at least for the foreseeable future. That doesn't mean I won't come back to it someday, but I'm not going to spend my career in the Civil War. I have two feelings about that. One is that I'm going to be relieved because I feel like it is so politically charged and emotionally charged. And I mean, like right now, the tearing down the Confederate statues and people arguing over the lost cause online. I mean, it's very much in our politics right now. So it's and Civil War is just one of the many topics. I do like war. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm a bad person, but I do like military history. I'm a big fan of the Napoleonic Wars. Love the Napoleonic Wars, and I love them. And you know what? I don't got a side, man. Like I'm kind of. I used to think I was pro-British, but I'm kind of like leaning French lately because I'm listening to this podcast about Napoleon, and I'm liking him more and more. I mean, I think he was, I don't think he should have made himself emperor, but I'm glad he did because I just think it's fabulous. And I mean, talk about an ego and just this belief in yourself that will take you from a poor minor aristocratic family in Corsica and become the master of Europe, where it takes, how many wars do they have? Different coalitions. I mean, it took them, he started fighting in the late 1790s, and they didn't finally put him down for good until 1815. And even then, if he hadn't gotten stomach cancer and died, he probably would have come back again. The emperor. But I love it. But there's no sense, because when I look at the Civil War, yes, I'm a Yankee. Yes, I believe in what the Union cause was. I'm anti-slavery, and of course everybody is. But I also firmly believe that is. I mean, we can nuance things that we want, but we fought that war because of slavery. And in the end result was we finished slavery. We're still working on some of this other. There's still a lot of work to do, but the end result of the war was slavery was over. But I guess what I'm saying, it'll be nice to not have to walk on eggshells anymore. So the next war I'm going to be doing is the Mexican War, and actually it's going to be kind of from the Mexican perspective, kind of an outsider trapped, caught up in it, but certainly from the Mexican perspective. And then we're going to do the Franco-Prussian War, and I'm really excited about that one too. And that will cap off the planned pentology of my books. There's the trilogy that's the Civil War, but then with the prequel and the sequel, we'll make a pentology, and all 5 of those books will be connected into one big overreaching story. Then after that, I got a couple one-ups that I might do that based off of characters that are in the pentology, that are not main characters, but I thought would be interesting to do books on. I might do more books with Carl. I have some ideas later on, and more books with some of the other characters as well. I have some other ideas for another trilogy later on based off of a famous person, what I'm really excited about. I have this idea. I'm not committed to it, so this is not me saying I'm going to do it. But I have an idea of that. I have ideas written out where I can write books. I'm going to dip back to the 1840s, do the Mexican War, but then starting after that, we do the Franco-Prussian War, and then have each book go further and further into modernity. And I have even ideas that I can use for that take place in the 1970s. I have a book that I want to do someday that will take place in Detroit in the 1970s. So we'll see if I get that far. Or I might say, you know what, I'm doing Renaissance. I'm doing a book that takes place in the 1500s. I don't know. It's way far ahead. I will tell you this: the things that I will do unless something happens to me, is I'm going to finish Blood for Blood in Nashville. I'm going to write Mexico, My Love, and I'm going to write what the working title is called, The Prussian Prince. I may not stick with that. We'll see. So, I was telling God, if you're hanging in there, God bless you, man. But I interrupt myself. So anyway, here's the schedule. That's right, Wednesday night, Laura and I like to watch debates. We watch debates and we spend election nights together, and she makes sesame chicken, and we have a couple drinks and we talk and we listen and watch those things. So we're doing that. Thursday morning, I get up, I go to Perryville. I'll probably get kicked out of the park. That's fine because the town's right there, and I'll try to sell some books. Friday, what's going on Friday? Oh, my band is going to play Thursday night. So my band's going to play without me at Cedar Hill. That's going to be really interesting. First time I've ever done that. They said that they would do that if I needed to, and David's going to be there to play the fiddle. So, that'll work fine. It's Friday's a normal night. On Saturday, I'm playing at a cemetery in Springfield. It's with the Robertson County History Museum, and they're going to let me bring books and sign them during the event after we get done playing. And then on Monday the 12th, this is really interesting. I have a friend named Marty. I know him from online. He's a reenactor. He does 1790s. He's in Revolutionary War too. And he's in a reenactment group called the 1st Pennsylvania Regiment, but they're based out of Michigan. And they're filming a feature film in Memphis. And I looked at this director. He's got feature films that you can watch, like 1.5 to 2 hour movies on Amazon Prime right now. You can watch right now. It's amazing. Anyway, they invited me to come out, and they're going to put a costume on me, and I think they're going to put me in it, a little bit part. I'm probably going to play some fiddle for them. And then I'll come back from that, and then what else? I can't keep up with it. Oh, the Ghost in the Grove the following weekend, Friday and Saturday night. We'll be in is it Lebanon? The Wilson County Fairgrounds at Fiddler's Grove, and we'll be there with my band playing. And then the following Thursday, going back to Cedar Hill again on the 24th, I think. I can't remember what day. No, 22nd at Cedar Hill. That's a Thursday. And then on the 24th, I'll be at By Faith Farm, where I will be, that's where they're going to, Serenata is going to be the band. So we're not even going to play. But because I've done some work I went out there and played a bunch of weekends for them. So they're giving me, it's $30 to have a table, but they're giving me one to sell my books, which is great. I'm going to get Laura to come out and help me. That's on the 24th. Come by, say hi, man. And then, and if you bought a book from me, but didn't get from me, you got it from Amazon, you want me to sign it, I'll sign it if you want it. And then Devil's Night, the 30th, we call it Devil's Night in Detroit. It's big long history to that. But on the 30th, I'm going to be back at Springfield. I'm sorry, at the Robertson County Museum, and I'm going to be one of the storytellers there. And I'm going to talk about, angel glow at Shiloh, and then Halloween, big sigh of relief. Laura and I are going to be in the house. I'll probably make some ribs, and we'll watch a scary movie, and we will pass out candy to the 2 teenagers that will show up at 9:30 without costumes. Anyway, that is the news for me. Look, I went an hour. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Lloyd. We will try to make spring. Oh, yeah. Okay, absolutely, Lloyd. Lloyd says we'll try to make it to the Springfield Museum this Saturday. Am I going to be there this Saturday? Oh, yeah, that's okay. But that's going to be in the cemetery. So I don't know if that's the right event. But I'll share it. I'll share it online. But yeah, absolutely. Come on out and I'll sign the books. And it'll be nice to see you. And by the way, man, I can't wait for you to get that book out, man. And so when you're ready to do it and you got questions and however you're doing it, if you decide to go a different route, do it, man. I want to see how it works. So, but yeah, we're going to get that book out and we're going to get people reading it. All right. I will. Can't wait to see you too, Lloyd. All right. I'm gonna peace out. I'm gonna put my license plate on my car. I'll share some pictures online. It's gonna be awesome. Thank you. I don't know when the next time I'll stream, but I'll certainly put the call out to everybody. All right.